Hi everyone, I'm Alejandra. I'm one of the publishing managers here at Monday Off, and together with me, Leslie will teach you how to successfully pitch your game to a publisher. So now I will give a brief introduction to Monday Off so you can know who we are. We're the number one publisher in South Korea. We were founded in 2018, and some of our beliefs are that everyone deserves a chance and flexible KPIs for publishing. So with us, you don't have to worry about hitting all of the metrics for publishing. For example, if your CPI is higher than the metric for publishing, we can help you try to lower it before giving up on your game. Um, some of our goals are to make long-lasting relationships with our partners and make their games shine in the hyper-casual market. Also, we wish to bring out the most creative games in the market that keeps players engaged for a long time. So now I will present today's agenda on how to successfully make a pitch for a publisher. So first, we will go on with the introduction to the studio, then introduction to the game, innovation, so what makes your game special, game design concept, game mechanics, game development, and summary of game idea. Also, make sure to stay at the end to know about the future Monday Off events. So now I will go on with the introduction to the studio. So in this part, you will have to give a brief introduction to your studio so the publisher can know who you are and who they will be working with. A link to your portfolio so the publisher can also know your past works, and make sure to show your achievements and why you're special. So here we made an example on Monday Off. So we introduce ourselves saying Monday Off is the first and number one hyper-casual gaming studio in South Korea, that we have achieved over 100 million downloads in 2022. And some of our, and we made sure to introduce some of our hits, which are Wacky Jelly, Save the Grandmother, and our new hit, Like a Pizza. So we also wanted to show why we're special, so we said we have original concepts not often seen in hyper casual. Also, on the right side, you can see that we added a link to our portfolio saying check out our game. So make sure to add that so the publisher can know more about you and your games. Next is the game introduction. So here you will give a brief introduction to the game so the publisher can know what they're looking into. Add some visual references, like this could be pictures of your already done design, or could be rough drawings of what your design could look like. Also make sure to highlight the game's mood and the general overview of the game. So in our example, we will be using Like a Pizza. So here we mentioned that Like a Pizza is an idle arcade game in which the player is the manager of a restaurant. The restaurant will keep expanding as you level up. Areas will be more difficult to unlock, so the player has to have more money to unlock these areas, and it will take more time to collect that money, so it will keep the player engaged for longer. The game is also very high paced, so the player will have to keep checking on different areas of the map to expand the restaurant even more. So here on the right side, you can see that we added 2 pictures of Like a Pizza. Of course, it's an already done game, so you don't have to add pictures of like what the game will exactly look like. It can just be drawings, as I mentioned before. So now we will go on with the innovation. Here you have to highlight what makes your game different. So make sure to focus on why your game is original and why it is special compared to other games in the charts. So here, why is Like a Pizza innovative? So we mentioned that our game is different from other idle arcade games because there are different rooms that the player can go into, for example, an HR room to obtain boosts and hire staff. And it gives like a realistic situation of what an actual pizza restaurant could look like, and also gives the player feel like they are the boss of the place, so makes them feel like they're in control. Also, we have very entertaining animations. So as you can see on the right picture, the players are basically the customers, I mean, are basically cursing out the player because they don't have pizza. So the player needs to stay up to date with all of the customers and deliver the pizza to them. So it is generally a fun game to play as a micromanager. Um, as mentioned before, the general speed is high and it requires the player's attention and focus at all times. So now Leslie will introduce the game design and will also let you know about the rest of what should be in your pitch for in your game pitch.
Hello everyone, I'm Leslie and I will now continue to talk about how to pitch your game to a publisher. Um, let's continue with the game design, and of course when it comes to your game pitch, the game design cannot be missing. Highlight your game design basics. Are you going for a more realistic design models, or are you going for a toon, shader? State your camera view also, very important, so the publisher basically can imagine how you want your game to look like and how the player is supposed to play your game. Make sure to describe the characters you want to use, the player character, and the general design concept of the game. If there's any special attributes, you should also mention that. But if there's any references that you have, be either other games, you can put in screenshots or you can put in just, if you have models that you're going to use, you can also put in those. And that's going to be a good help for the publisher to understand what you're trying to make. For Like a Pizza, we have the example here that we're going to use bright pastel colors that are supposed to be, bright and pleasing, but, not too intrusive. The camera angle is, of course, a top inclined view, which, well, since it's an idle arcade game, the obvious choice, so the player can always see what's going on all across the map, and they have to stay um, up to date with everything that's going on at their pizza shop. So yeah, for the characters, we decided to stay very simple and to decide not to use more human-looking models. Instead, we used stickman, and we decided to just distinguish them with uniforms. The player character is the only one wearing an orange uniform, and we think this is quite a good fit because orange is basically the only time the color is appearing in the game, and orange is also kind of like the pizza color. I think orange uniforms just really remind you of pizza, so it really sticks out. You can see your character right away, and you will never get lost in the map. And for the staff working at the pizza place, they're wearing blue uniforms. The blue uniforms work quite well because they're kind of blending in with the background, but also not too much so they're invisible. But since the game is quite fast paced, and since you also can increase the movement speed of the staff and the player character, it would be quite confusing if the staff also were wearing very colorful uniforms and standing out a lot. So we decided to stay a bit more mute in this regard and to have them stay in the background a little more so they're not distracting the player. And for the customers, they're supposed to be as basic as possible, so they're not wearing any uniforms, they're just black stickmen. Everything in the game is still contrasting quite nicely, so there's no confusion across the map and everything is visible very well. The general design is quite cute, and with the toon shader, the design looks just very pleasing to look at. It's of course not a very realistic design with detailed shading or anything, but the ovens, delivery, scooters, tables in the HR office all look very cute and still realistic enough for the person the player to, think that they're working at a pizza place and, get into the position of a manager at a pizza restaurant. After you talked about the game's design, you should also mention your game's mechanics. So, what is the main mechanic of your game, and how do you control the game? How do you play it? And of course, how will the player feel while playing the game? Is it, tense? Is it fun? Is it surprising? You can mention this kind of game because emotion is very important when it comes to hyper casual. For idle arcades such as like a pizza, of course, the obvious choice for controls is the joystick. Since the player has to move freely across the map, joysticks are just the most straightforward and easy to understand way of control, and it just lets the player be the most free, and there's no limitations basically. So yeah, joystick would be the obvious choice here. Rather than, I don't know, tapping or anything like that, it would feel very restrictive and complicated. So yeah. And for the general mechanics, the game works by delivering pizzas to either customers by serving yourself or have your staff serve the pizza. And then you can also use delivery. But of course, by doing that, you will earn money, and then you can upgrade either your pizza restaurant or yourself, your skills basically, or your staff. So there's many play styles and many ways to, you know, create your own shop and, have your own play style. So it never gets boring, and there's many options to, you know, play the game. So which will also have an influence on the retention later on. And of course, as the player gets richer, the more areas will get unlocked. And one of the special features here is that it's not just one place that is getting bigger and bigger. You can even unlock other locations that will basically act like a new shop. But of course, you can still earn money at the old ones, so you're building your own franchise. Next, you can mention how to make your game profitable for a long time. This is not necessary, like you do not have to make a market analysis or professional statement on how you can increase your game's retention and how you're gonna market it later on. But if you have some ideas for, the game development and the game progression as it goes on, and the further development of the game, please mention it here. So maybe there's some good ideas there, so which show a lot of potential, and it's would be good to know and not to ignore that. For like a pizza, this mechanic would obviously be the franchise mechanics, so you can have other locations, and it's special in a way that it's not resetting your progress, but adding on top of it. So you're getting richer and richer, but of course you also need more money to unlock those new things. And there's different ways to unlock the other locations or other mechanics, and it opens up so many ways of playing the game, and it keeps players curious and attentive. So they're always trying out new ways to play, and this will influence the retention and playtime overall. So the more options they have, the longer they will keep playing, and the more interesting the game will be overall. So this kind of, these options make the game much less repetitive. So it's always good to have these kind of options in your idle arcade game. At the end, you can summarize your game idea once more and give it a last push, so to say, and highlight why this game is a great idea and why we should work on publishing it. For like pizza, we think that pizza is just universally loved, so the concept in general should work. Of course, pizza is also pleasing to look at. It might make you hungry while playing, but that's another thing. And expanding your own business, growing your own business, and especially like owning a franchise might be very, attractive to the players. And it's also a scenario that is not too hard to imagine. Like, it's not very abstract. So players can get into the game easily, and the high paced atmosphere of the game will keep players engaged at the same time. So, the many options and the many ways of playing the game will also influence the playtime and the retention of the game, and generally make for a solid idle arcade game that should work all across all ages, and everyone will enjoy like a pizza. But of course, there's no universal way of writing a pitch. Everyone has their own style, and you can make a PPT, you can put a Notion document. So there's no one certain way in which you have to make your game pitch. And we basically just want to let you know which kind of parts you should mention in your pitch to make it easier to understand for the publisher what you're trying to say, which always helps in the communication between the studio and the publisher. And maybe you will have some inspiration here. So now that we're done with the pitch, I will try to pitch our platform to you guys. Monday Off Dashboard was launched early this year and is a fully self-serve marketability testing platform. There's no rejection, so every game that you're submitting gets accepted. We will accept everything. There's no, reviews by publishing managers. So if you have a game that you would like to test or retest, for example, maybe you've made an iteration where your game has been rejected elsewhere, but you would like to test it again, you're free to do so here, and we're always open for new ideas and your game prototypes. Yeah, last, we would like to thank you for listening today, and let you know that we have a lot planned for the rest of the year and for the upcoming months. We have educational programs, game jams, of course, competitions, but also smaller scale events for our community. So if you would like to participate and not miss out on those, you can join our Discord and follow our LinkedIn page to stay in touch with us. Thank you so much for listening today. And of course, if you want to ask us questions, you're free to do so now. We're having a short Q&A with you guys, and after, you can always message either Alejandra or me on LinkedIn or whatever platform you would like, and we will do our best to answer you as fast as possible. Thank you so much, and talk to you in a bit. Bye bye.